Ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Are you?
No. Hello and welcome to Death, 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 the podcast about death, dying, and how it relates to us, the living. My name is Jordan Balgis, and as always, I am joined by my delightful co-hosts.
Jasmine Rayburn.
And Rose Robert, what
Hey.
up? Getting fancy with it.
We're getting a little.
Nighttime recording sesh.
Nighttime, it's like beautiful outside.
It's 7:25. It's okay to drink.
Feels, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it's
okay to
5
have
o'clock
rosé.
somewhere, baby.
We're all having a glass of wine. Mine's
Yeah.
A
red.
glass. I just finished my first one.
Nice.
See, the trick is you,
Nice.
just,
Yeah.
you never let it run out, and then it's always one glass.
Yeah.
You just
yeah.
top it up.
All
I
right.
think one
I mean,
bottle to one person is fine. That's portion size, right? That's how I do it every time.
Anyway, have a
Anyway,
half glass with dinner every day.
enough
Air quotes, half glass.
about all of our functioning alcoholisms. Today we're talking about celebrity death.
Yay. Awkward silence. Yeah, we're talking today about celebrity death, how the public in general kind of digests that.
Yeah, how it
and
affects you, like somebody you didn't know but had a huge influence on your life.
Yeah.
Generally, right? Like I think in the last few years we've specifically as a culture started to really kind of focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of
Mhm.
I don't know. It just seems like it's more of a big
Well, there's more and
conversation.
more people get famous.
Hey, do you guys want to
Yeah.
talk about that What's Your Grief article? Because I think it might frame our stories better.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it does kind of go through, like, why do we care about celebrity death so much?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, why are we mourning people we've never met? What's that about?
Yeah, I never had any actual interaction with, but just
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they feel like they're part of your life and you're grieving. It's grief, you know?
yeah.
If you're crying, if you're affected at all,
Yeah,
really,
I mean, if you
it's
relate
grief.
so strongly to someone and their art connects to you emotionally, you're gonna care if they pass away.
Yeah, totally.
And it's beyond them just like not making more art that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's part of
them-
it, though.
Yeah, well, it's definitely part of it, but it's also the fact that someone that you connected to through their work is gone.
Yeah.
So it feels like you know them, even if or maybe it feels that they know you
Totally.
because their art connects with you.
Well, they're in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't think that's beyond reasoning at all to grieve someone who's
no,
celebrity that's touched you.
but it definitely fits into that category of disenfranchised grief, right? You know?
Mm-hmm. True
Even if you're
that.
just doing it to yourself, right? Like, why am I so sad about someone I haven't met? What'sYourGrief.com has an awesome article about celebrity death called 9 Reasons It Is Not Crazy to Grieve a Celebrity Death. They have a few things that kind of...
Only 9.
I know, right? It's not crazy.
It's got to be at least 10.
I'm not
Couldn't
crazy.
even get into double digits.
No. Not trying hard enough.
Stop throwing shade at What's Your Grief, man.
That's no, they're great.
I'm just gonna go over them really quickly. We can just kind of get into more detail as we go along. But
Skim us through it.
first thing is
Take us to the bridge.
we don't know. Number one is we don't know celebrities, but we do know celebrities because they're regular parts of our lives. They're in shows and movies on the radio. They are around when something significant happens, creating art. You know, you see them evolve in front of you, and they become kind of like a symbol for your life. 2 is we feel connected to our favorite celebrities, obviously, like what you were saying. You know, like we connect them to ourselves, and they remind us of ourselves.
Yeah,
You know?
500%.
It's really, we're just like grieving a part of ourselves that we're losing.
I think that's true, right? Because they have, especially if it's somebody that had a major impact on you earlier in your life or something like that, right? When you're
Yeah.
growing and kind of, you know, like musicians specifically, I think you discover a lot of music when you're a teenager and stuff like that, and has a impact on your life. And there's a reason why so much music can be nostalgic and stuff like that.
Or if somebody fits in, like a celebrity fits into a role that maybe you didn't have in your life and you attach to them, you
Sure.
know, you develop
could see that.
attachments to them, say like, you know, Bill Cosby maybe for some
Uh-oh.
people, and parent roles, which
for
is why
sure.
was so traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, he's not dead. He's just, you know,
A
dead
terrible,
to me.
terrible person.
But
Yeah.
you know, like it's,
We'll
it's
just
kind
say
of
he
like,
might as well be.
yeah, totally.
No. Let him be alive for a long time in jail and
Yeah.
suffer with that. I'm
Terrible,
okay
terrible
with that.
things happen to him in there.
I don't know. I think he's just probably being
He's in a
taken
he's
in
in a
by
nice he's in a
gang or
nice
something.
jail.
It'd be
He's in a
fine.
nice jail. He's not gonna. No one's gonna touch him.
House arrest or something. Anyway,
Probably. Anyway, yeah. Fuck Bill Cosby.
they're connected to friends or family who have died. This is a pretty intense one. Basically, like, say for David Bowie. Say your mom has cancer and dies, but she was a huge David Bowie
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, sure.
David Bowie dies, that's going to bring up shit for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
going to remind you of that connection to the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is we connect with the way with the celebrity died, right? Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade
Yeah.
committing suicide,
Mhm.
basically back to back. People who are struggling with these issues, that's going to have a real impact on how they process that, right?
Yeah, I think you project a big part of really loving a celebrity and stuff like that is you do project a lot of your own qualities onto that person, right?
Totally.
Yeah, like the positive side of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Or you at least relate to them or whatever. Like Anthony Bourdain, talking about him specifically, like obviously he was like, tattoos, worked in a kitchen, was a pretty punk rock guy.
For those that don't know, Anthony Bourdain was a chef/author.
Yeah,
He
you
was like a
should
huge
absolutely
cult
know this.
icon.
Yeah, and TV,
And
like
restaurant.
a couple
Yeah,
TV shows.
TV host.
It's like one of the longest faces I've ever seen.
It's
Yeah,
true.
his face was like 8 miles long.
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good. It was a good face.
And when he did commit suicide, I think it affected, like, I don't know, anyone that's read his books that exists in a restaurant space felt grief for that.
I think part of that
That
too
loss.
is, you can kind of, even if you don't necessarily specifically relate, like I related to him on the like I listened to like group, like in high school, teenager, like got into punk music, loved
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and work in a kitchen now, and even if you don't necessarily project yourself on that, somebody that is kind of that, if you're in that industry or something like that, or grew up in that kind of world, and so when somebody like that takes their own life, that's going to have an effect as well, right? Because it
Totally.
is all that kind of stuff wrapped up in that.
Yeah,
it's true.
You can draw those parallels really easily.
Yeah.
And also, it's like, even if you weren't specifically connected to that celebrity, it's like also, rich, famous people with mental health issues to the point that they're killing themselves.
Yeah.
It's very easy to dismiss their problems. I heard that a lot with Kate Spade, especially. Just like, fuck, she was rich and famous. Why would she have to be sad about?
Yeah, but she suffered with depression like her entire life.
But also, it's like, people who have depression who aren't rich and famous going, oh shit, like, she had every tool that she could have wanted
Yeah.
to get better and still never overcame it because she was overwhelmed by her depression, so some people are like, well, what shot do I have, right?
Yeah.
Like, what shot do I have if this successful person...
well,
For
it's,
sure.
it's that old anecdote of money doesn't buy happiness.
Well, yeah, totally.
And it's totally true.
Yeah.
Like the whole mo money, mo problems.
Yeah, but for the people that struggle with the same issue she did, but with less resources, it's pretty
even more
disheartening,
frustrating.
right?
Yeah, I think there's a flip side of celebrity where you end up becoming very isolated in your own bubble and
Totally.
surrounded by people that are are
Yes,
like,
man.
especially if you're like really rich and famous, and you end up running like a little mini industry where all these people work for you and
Yeah.
they rely on you, so they
They
don't
stand to gain from you.
like they want to keep
Yeah.
say yes to everything you're saying because like that they want to keep their employment, like
They want
you
to keep
get
the
their
machine
boss.
running so that they can keep feeding their families.
Exactly. So you end up, somebody that is struggling with that may feel kind of isolated within that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For
And it's
sure.
not intentional by the people around them either, right? Like you don't know. Every case is different. But
You could say
People
it's
have a tendency to
semi-intentional, but
dismiss like the mental health issues of rich and famous people because we have this weird idea that it's like, oh, money is the cure for everything, and it's like we still have, as a society, barely scratched the surface of the impact of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
On a person's day to day. We just like are very capitalist, and we think, oh, we're rich and all our problems will be solved. But
I mean, you have less problems if you have a decent amount of money, but it's up
it's
a ceiling.
like what, 750,000 or something.
I think
like
that's
that?
what it is, and then,
Yeah.
and then
then
basically
beyond that, it's just like the same shit for everyone.
it's like
Yeah.
the law of diminishing returns, where it's like the
Yeah.
more resources you throw at something, it only gets better to a point.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, to use wine as an example, because we're all drinking wine. A $20 bottle
Don't
of
ruin this
wine.
for me.
A $20 bottle of wine is probably almost twice as good as a $10 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
But a $200 bottle of wine isn't 10 times better than a $20
Yeah.
bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So it's like slowly you reach that, and then a $1,000 bottle of wine is marginally better than a $200 bottle
Yeah.
of wine.
And that's completely ignoring some of the problems that are exacerbated by wealth and fame as well.
Yeah.
You know, the isolation, the
Mm-hmm.
lack of support.
Having eyes on you all the time, and if you're somebody that is struggling with your own self-image and
Yeah.
depression and things like that, to have people staring at you all the time, and
Not having
feeling
a
those
genuine
eyes.
Expecting you to be at your,
system.
expecting you to always be at your best.
Yeah.
And like if you're a comedian, always be funny, or if you're a singer, always be singing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah. You
always be
you
on.
Do end up becoming kind of a caricature of yourself, of
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
people expect to a certain
I
degree.
have absolutely, which is a good thing because it's never going to happen, but I have absolutely no desire to be famous.
What are you saying? What are you saying? You're never gonna be famous.
I mean,
we're gonna
it
get
could
it.
happen.
We have
gonna get so big.
65 Instagram followers right
Yeah.
now.
I'm like famous in my own life. That's good. That's good for me. I'm okay with being my own main character.
Yeah, you
As
don't
of-
need to be famous.
As of this recording, we have almost 200 listens.
That's pretty good.
I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah,
We
That's
love
great.
you.
Thank you.
Hey. Hey.
Hey.
It feels racist. I don't know. Cut it out. Just
No.
delete it.
No. Anything you want cut out, you have to say, well, I'm up getting more wine.
I also need more wine. I could get you some.
No, you read
Then
the
I
thing.
can
I'll
finally
get
eat
the
this
wine.
talkie
the
I've been holding in my hand
bottle.
this whole time.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Hey, we're it's free form. We're flowing.
We're flowing, man.
This is gonna be a hard episode to edit,
It's a hustle and flow.
but it's gonna be good.
Don't you spill that wine on my tablecloth.
I promise I
ordered
won't.
this shit from Etsy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
now that's bougie.
I've never gone on Etsy.
that's the dream.
That's real
Can I-
bougie.
strive
Should
to
I-
be bougie, but
Should I Foley it?
Nice. Yeah, that's good. That was good ASMR. I picked it up.
Have I told you guys that I have ASMR? Like legit? It's a real thing. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
It's a form of synesthesia.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you listen to ASMR like videos and stuff?
Yeah. Not as much anymore because I'm always tired and I don't have
Okay.
trouble falling asleep. But I used to for a while. Yeah, for a
Yeah.
long time, for years. It's very
I-
relaxing.
I bought a white noise machine
I like it too.
to fall asleep with.
Yeah.
It really helps.
Does it?
It has like different frequencies of white noise, and you keep on trying it until you get the perfect frequency.
That you like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just need
It has
somebody.
like white noise, brown noise.
Does it
pink
help you?
noise.
Because like my trouble sleeping a lot of times is just me running over stuff in my brain all the time, over and over and over again.
It's partly that. It's like background noise for all of that.
Yeah, like I feel like I would like the thing about the ASMR that I like, besides the actual ASMR, which if you don't know is it's a form of synesthesia. So when I hear certain audible things, and it is visual too, which I didn't realize.
Oh, that's interesting.
I didn't realize that until ASMR became a thing because it is something that I noticed. I have a very specific memory of being a child, well, maybe like 12, and watching Pulp Fiction, and that scene where Christopher Walken is talking to the camera about the watch.
Yeah.
Oh
In his
yeah.
Christopher Walken voice, and he's talking really quiet, getting ASMR.
Your father
Yeah,
carried
your
this
father
awkward chunk of metal.
hit this watch up his ass
Yeah.
for 20 years. I don't know if that was a good Christopher Walken or
Close
terrible.
enough, Close
Pretty
enough.
southern.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Oh man.
Anyway, but yeah, like, and that's not like a very relaxing thing, but getting that like feeling, right? And I can understand somebody outside of, I don't know why this became an ASMR podcast, but
It's not.
You
it's
poured
not.
wine.
Everyone, it's not.
You poured wine next to the
that's-
microphone.
Yeah, I did. But I can understand why it would, like, from an outside context, seems really weird and really kind of creepy. And there's definitely, I'm sure there are some people that have turned into some sort of sexual thing.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But that's going to happen.
100%.
But that's going to happen with everything.
yeah, it's fine. No shame.
You know, but it is, yeah. And so that's something that I find really relaxing, and I will watch it before going to sleep sometimes because I'm like, you're also listening to somebody just like talk about whatever their life.
Yeah.
You can kind of focus on that and not run things over and over in your head.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think
yeah.
the white noise machine is similar to that, where it's just you'll have all your background thoughts, but that's your brain kind of filling in the empty space.
Yeah.
So if you have something going like waves crashing, your brain doesn't need to fill in that stuff, and it just kind of relaxes into
and just
into
kind
its
of
REM sleep.
eases you into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm all about the ocean sounds.
Ocean
I'm into
sounds
that
really good.
shit.
Yeah.
I like a fire crackling as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get distracted by people's voices because I start thinking about their inner worlds.
Yeah,
Who is this person talking to me? Who are they?
Yeah.
I feel that. What the hell were we talking
But
about?
it's
before
kind
ASMR?
of. But I got a segue here.
A segue from our segue?
But if you're
Double segue.
if
Double
you're
segue.
some like I've been watching these ASMR videos for a while, and so you start to get to know these people that are making these videos and stuff like that, and you
Right.
start to get involved in the world like you do with celebrities.
Oh.
Segue.
You get comfortable with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost in the
They
way
become a
they-
part of your life.
That a celebrity's music might comfort you.
Exactly.
Ooh, that brings us to 5.
Hey.
Yeah, the celebrity was always there to comfort us. Yeah.
Killing it.
Yeah, doing great. Right in order,
We did
too.
not
I
plan
didn't even
this,
skip
guys.
one.
We are not professionals. We did not plan this.
Yeah,
We-
I'm a little impressed.
Yeah. Anyway.
all gonna
like
get cut out.
binge watching a show. Like I told you how I cope with Buffy.
Oh yeah,
That
I do
helped me,
too.
man. That
I've
helped me out
I've
big time.
Definitely done that too. I've watched that show
Steven Universe,
over and
of
over
course.
again. Currently doing that.
Yeah, so good. Healing. Or like an album that got you through a tough time.
YouTubers that you watch every day,
Yeah,
something
and
like that.
it's like when you're using something to comfort you, say you had a loss or something like that, and then that person dies, that comfort dies, it's not only going to bring up their own death, it's going to bring up the loss that you used them to
Yeah,
comfort
that'd be
you
pretty
for,
devastating.
or remind you of a dark period
Yeah.
in general, right? You know, so it's like,
Yeah, it can kind of be losing a safety blanket to a certain degree, right? Like
Totally.
something that made you feel better.
like if you listen to an album while you were going through a breakup or something, and then the person, the band, like the main person in a band, I don't know.
like Kurt Cobain,
Yeah,
like,
sure,
again, like that,
yeah.
him being at the peak of, the height of Nirvana and stuff like that, and taking his own life.
So much breakup music as well, Nirvana.
Yeah, and
It's
then and so much, like the voice of a generation, right? To a certain degree. So having that taken away from you instantly, would be very traumatizing. And there's a reason why I guess people say it was Courtney Love that murdered him. I don't.
Yeah,
believe
because it's
that.
easier
They don't
than
wanna
just
believe it,
dealing
yeah.
with the fact that this part of themselves has been ripped out of their life.
Yeah, this person was as tortured as they are, and reaching these excesses of fame and success didn't make it better necessarily. That's a scary
they're just
thought
human
too.
beings.
Yeah.
Like they're just human beings trying to do their best, just like we are,
Mm-hmm.
And it also represents losing our past or our youth, right? So there's a loss
yeah.
of innocence. When even if it's not music that happened in a dark time, if it's music that reminded you of a good time, if somebody dies, that reminds you of a part of yourself that doesn't exist anymore because you grew up or you changed or, they die, you lose part of your history, right?
Yeah.
Well, and there's like a recent example of that is like John Singleton, who's the filmmaker who made like Boys in the Hood and Baby Boy and that kind of stuff. Recently, very recently passed away from a stroke. That was a very sudden thing, and I'm a white boy, but that's
Boys
Just in
in the
case
Hood.
you guys weren't sure.
yeah.
Boys in the Hood. Yeah, we are all white folk here.
But
Yes.
that's a voice of a very
Yeah.
large group of people that
I mean,
change
Boys in the
things,
Hood
right?
still resonates with me. And
Oh, yeah,
I'm-
me too.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not from a hood,
yeah,
and I'm not black.
Yeah.
But it still resonates with me because it's like a classic coming of age tale.
absolutely.
So
yeah.
when someone who directs and what did he write? Boys in the Hood too.
I believe so.
When someone has such a hand in creating a story that touched you and resonated with you in your young adult or like late teen life, yeah, it affects you for
Yeah.
sure.
Other people make us feel shitty about it. That's number 8. People make us feel shitty about it because they think it's stupid, and then you that kind of goes back to disenfranchised grief. If you don't have support for your grief, you're gonna carry it with you, and it's gonna affect you deeper.
Yeah.
If you have no outlet or way to deal with your grief,
You need to actually grieve and not
if
if everyone is making you feel like you have to internalize it.
the best thing is when you're grieving a celebrity death and you like lock eyes with some stranger in the room and you're like, hey, we're brothers in this, like, I don't know if you've ever had like a mutual grieving experience with a celebrity death where you like walk in, you're like, oh, shitty day today. David Bowie's dead.
The Anthony Bourdain death for
Yeah,
sure.
well, it's Cooks, right?
Yeah. working that day, and everyone in the kitchen was just like
Yeah.
so down,
Yeah.
so out of it. Like, yeah, it was definitely a mutual experience. Same with the Robin Williams death.
That one's
Oh,
a big
totally.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mutual thing for everyone. I was working at a kitchen at the time. I don't give a fuck. Irish Times. I was working at the Irish Times at the time, and none of us in the day crew knew, because it happened early in the morning. They found his body early in the morning,
Yeah. I
Our
think
time,
so.
Pacific
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
and no one knew about it on shift until like the lunch guys came in, and then it was just, everyone just like fucking broke down. I don't think anyone was like crying openly online, but like the mood changed instantly.
Because that's also somebody that brought so much joy
Yeah,
to like, and had such a broad range of like, you have like Aladdin and things like that, or Jumanji, where like you're a kid and he's there, and then you have movies like Patch Adams and Awakenings, and
Yeah.
what's the one where he goes to hell?
Oh,
Cuba
fuck, I
Gooding
just
Jr.
watched
I don't
that.
know if I've ever seen
It's
that.
really
Let's
stupid.
talk about the best Robin Williams movie though, Flubber.
Oh fuck, Flubber.
I know Jordan hates Flubber, and I
hate
love
Flubber.
it. I love it so
It's
much.
shitty. God, what is that movie?
It's a movie where Robin Williams doesn't get to be Robin Williams. I hate it.
Miss Doubtfire.
Miss Doubtfire is great. Oh, what is that movie called? I don't. Yeah. Anyway, but like that's so he was somebody that was with you throughout so many different points in your life, and it was always a staple. And then just out of nowhere, he was gone. Right.
Yeah.
It's,
Entered his own life.
What dreams may come.
What dreams may come. Yes. Cuba Gooding Jr. wins an Oscar.
I
don't think it was for
watched
that.
that.
It was
Never
for-
seen it.
It was just obnoxious.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember liking it back in the day
Yeah, it was just really cheesy. I don't know.
because his wife killed herself, right? And he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
to go to hell to save her, and his son is also dead, and his son is played by Cuba Gooding Jr.
I think the issue is that it came out
Okay.
in 1998, so the effects that they would have required for that to be pulled off were just the technology wasn't there. And
Yeah.
when I watched it, I was like,
Much like Flubber.
Flubber,
But Flubber was a great film.
no, no. Maybe I'll have
So
to
good.
rewatch Flubber.
Masterpiece.
honestly, if I'm really honest with myself, my favorite Robin Williams movie is Hook.
I really like
okay.
Like if I'm like
Yeah.
straight, it's not the one I want to say is my favorite, but it's up there for sure.
I've rewatched Hook multiple times for sure. I like Hook.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my favorite. World's Greatest Dad is pretty great too.
World's Greatest Dad is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Bobcat Goldthwait is the director. I love him.
I've never heard that name in my life, but I love it.
Yeah, I like the name.
He's a comedian. He started out, the guy he's one of the voices in Hercules, one of the two like little demon characters.
Okay.
Bobcat Goldthwait is the rounder guy.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah.
got that really nasally like
Yeah.
With a name like that, you're either a
Screechy
pro
voice.
wrestler or a director.
yeah. And he went into
love
making movies and
Hercules.
stuff like that, and
Yeah.
he's great.
That's a good one.
All right, so what are we on 7 now on the list?
Yeah, we're actually on 8. That was People Make Us Feel Bad. Number 9
People make me feel
is the one you already mentioned, Rob. Is that they'll never create anything new.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something sad about just going like, even when your favorite band breaks up or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite band I found out about too late, and I'll never get to see them perform.
Who's that?
It's kind of embarrassing.
I wanna
No,
know.
tell us.
It's Foxy Shazam. They're like a
Never heard of
kind of a glam
Yeah,
rock
right?
style. Yeah, I don't know. I
Right.
just Eric Nally, he just really
Didn't they have they had like one bigger song, didn't they?
maybe Oh Lord was their bigger one. I don't know.
I know that name, and
I
I
don't-
knew it was like
So the lead singer Eric Nally, he was featured in that Macklemore song Downtown. He's the weirdo with the spaced apart mustache.
okay. I don't know that song. I don't know much Malcolm Moore.
Downtown. No.
Downtown. That's a different song.
Yeah, different
A
song.
great song. though.
Anyway, watch the video. I don't like Macklemore that much, but I watched it when we were at the Seattle Museum of Pop Culture. I think that's what they call it now. And they had it playing on this huge screen. It takes place in Seattle, right? So you
Okay.
can see all the...
The monuments. And
Yeah, it's cool. And then I was just like, he came on the screen and was like, oh my God, I'm in love with him. Like, in love with him.
Yeah.
Like, first celebrity crush. I don't crush on celebrities. I don't crush on musicians very often. I've got this like defense mechanism built so deep into me that it's just like I am not attracted to people unless I know they're going to be attracted to me.
Let's go on with the list, and I'll look it up, and we'll
This
see
is
if
the
we
last
can-
of the
That's the
list.
oh, that is the last of the list. You're right.
We can go to
So-
most shocking celebrity deaths,
Let's do it.
obviously.
Maybe before we do that, do we want to talk about each of us, like maybe one death that affected us?
Yeah.
Somewhat
yeah.
personally?
I think we need to talk about Nipsey because
Nipsey Hussle.
you've both
Yeah.
looked into it. And
A little shitbag.
Yeah, I have a little bit of research on Nipsey, who, full disclosure, was not somebody that I was very familiar with.
And
But
I know of Nipsey, and I definitely listened to him a lot.
yeah,
His new album, Victory Lap, was amazing. Go
I've-
check it out.
yeah.
Streaming.
he's almost somebody actually that I knew the name, and I kind of once he died and started learning more about him, kind of started listening to music.
There is
and-
such an outpouring of all of his accomplishments and his achievements, because he's such a prolific philanthropist as well. He did so
Yeah.
much for the community of Crenshaw. Is it Crenshaw?
It is
LA?
Well, let's get into it here.
Yeah, please
All right.
do.
So on
Please learn us some knowledge.
Yeah. I will learn you a knowledge. On Sunday, March 31st,
sorry.
2019, musician Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in a parking lot outside his clothing store, Marathon. A few days later, on April 2nd, 2019, Eric Holder would be arrested for Hussle's murder. And so I took all of this information from a few Los Angeles Times articles written by Angel Jennings and Sonea Kelly are the two authors. And so Hussle was a musician. He released his first mixtape, Slauson Boy Volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
Soon he would have his own label, followed by more mixtapes and collaborations with artists like Drake and Snoop Dogg, MGMT, Rick Ross. In 2019, Hussle would be nominated for the Best Rap Album at the Grammys. And I put here for whatever that's worth. I think the Grammys, when I
Yeah, I
wrote this,
saw
the
that.
Grammys had just happened, and I was like, I don't give a shit about the Grammys.
Oh, what happened with the Grammys? Like, some bullshit.
They're just always, they're out of touch. It's like
Another-
the Academy Awards.
Another famous rapper that died was also posthumously nominated for the Grammy, Mac Miller.
Yeah,
right,
that's
right,
true.
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nipsey was alive when he was nominated,
yeah.
didn't win.
Mac
but
Miller
Mac
was
Miller
alive.
was also...
'Cause
and we can talk about Mac Miller a little bit later, too.
I think we should, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got into like his music. He acted in films. In 2007, he was in Caged Animal, starring alongside Ving Rhames.
He's a beautiful man. No
Who-
homo.
Who's big
Who?
names?
Ving Rhames or
No, Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, he's a good-looking dude.
Good looking dude.
Yeah. He was also in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the TV show.
Was
but
he really?
Apparently.
Okay.
Crazy
I never watched
Ex-Girlfriend
it.
is actually like kind of amazing.
Never saw it.
I don't really know that much about it. I know I've heard the name multiple times, but
I don't watch TV enough.
yeah,
I watch like
I
the
haven't
big three.
seen
I
the
watch
last
like
couple
Game of Thrones.
seasons, but yeah, it's pretty good. If you like musical theater.
Anyways.
I don't like musical theater. honestly.
Yeah.
Good on you
there you
then, Jordan.
Well,
More
Nipsey
for us.
did, so.
Yeah, Nipsey loved
Fair
it.
enough. Anyway, this is not what we're here to talk about when it comes to Nipsey Hussle. What I have here is that he was incredibly involved in his community, and he fought for the people of his neighborhood. Hyde Park was the neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So there's a construction of a new metro line that caused housing prices in the region to rise, which is always pushes more people out.
Gentrification.
Exactly. There has
Classic.
been massive redevelopment of the area surrounding Hyde Park, but so far nothing within Hyde Park itself in Nipsey's neighborhood. City Councilman Marquis Harris Dawson said this about Hussle. He was invested in this part of town because he understood if we ever wanted it to be in the condition it deserved and for our people to be treated the way they deserve to be treated, we have to own it. There was no shortcuts to that. And I have another quote here, or that quote from her. Sorry, she was a friend of Hussle since middle school. She was 34 when he passed away.
Yeah, he was probably around that age too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course he was. If
Yeah.
they're both from middle school.
I mean, they might have been like a year or two different, but
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah.
Still, yeah.
And he said, we didn't see enough of us behind the counter or owning the buildings within their neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's also like that's a common topic in his, like a common theme in his raps, is like owning the property that you live on
Yeah.
owning the masters to your albums and your songs, owning a record label,
I
and
think
not handing all of this hard work over to the air quotes the man.
Keeping your power.
Yeah, keeping your power and using your power.
and starting from very kind of like grassroots, like the basic, right, of where you are and what you have access to, and getting as much as you can, and slowly building building that to get bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hustle,
and just knowing, basically, just the whole conclusion would be like knowing your worth.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
recognizing your worth,
Yeah, and he was huge,
which is
huge
something I
for promoting
personally
that.
definitely struggle
Who
with.
doesn't?
Yeah.
So Hustle could have taken his fame and his wealth and moved out of Hyde Park. Could have left the neighborhood behind and enjoyed the spoils of his creativity and success. You know, he could have lived the high life. He could have moved anywhere else in LA, but he chose not to. He chose to help his community, to do good. In January, Hustle and a real estate investor, David Gross, bought an L-shaped shopping center off Slauson Ave for $2.5 million. This would be the location of both Nipsey Hussle store.
$2.5 million for a shopping center?
Yeah, it's in LA, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
Property in LA is expensive.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that's like not expensive.
Well, I think
Like,
it's a strip mall. It's
Okay.
not like it's not a mall.
Yeah.
It's a strip mall.
Okay.
It's not like Hillside Mall or
Yeah.
something.
From
Yeah,
like the
I feel
photos I
like-
saw, it's just like a little,
Yeah.
like it could have been in any little town or whatever. No, it's
Still,
good.
when you talk
I
about
just
like,
wrote shopping center, so
I mean, when you talk about like properties in Victoria costing $2 million for
yeah,
a 3-bedroom
shit,
house,
I
Yeah.
will be lucky.
you could buy
to
a strip
get
mall in LA for
a
2.8.
house for less than $800,000.
I will
Yeah.
never own a house. I've
Probably not.
just come
I've
to that.
resigned myself to the fact.
Rent a room in mine
Sure, I'm in.
basement
Why are you whispering so far away from your mic?
because I don't want that to be
like this.
Anyway, so this this property on Slauson Ave would be the location of Marathon Clothing, Hustle store, as well as ultimately his death.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just, I don't know, that's just a quick overview of a guy
Why
that
was he shot?
A
it's
couple months ago now.
No, why?
Oh, why?
What was the reason?
Well, it probably gang related.
I don't think
the
it
other day.
was. I think it was a personal. I think the guy that shot him was dating Nipsey's niece or something like that.
There's also rumors that it was Twitter beef, because like I think it's like a half hour or an hour before he got shot, he tweeted something along the lines of, "It's a blessing to have such strong enemies," something along those lines. So like that was almost him calling. People think that was him calling someone out,
Yeah, I think it was.
daring someone to make a move.
From what I've seen so far, it was kind of, I think this guy wanted. I think it was ultimately Nipsey Hussle was a big part of the community and somebody that people cared about and was doing very well and was influential. And the guy that shot him, I already forgot his name. We don't need to say his name again. Fuck that guy.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
It just seems like he was upset about that, and
Wanted to take someone down a peg.
exactly. And from what I understood about the story too, is that he shot the guy and then bolted, expecting there to be people around Nipsey with guns and stuff like that, but that wasn't really his deal.
No.
And when he kind of realized that, he came back and shot him again.
What?
And I think he did that, if not two times, 3 times maybe, where he just and then Nipsey's Hussle, his brother ended up coming, got the call and ended up rushing down and finding him and holding him while.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a really, really sad story.
Super
of this,
sad.
This person that had the hugest impact on his community.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
he was hugely influential in visual arts as well. Like he had a hand in getting this open air art gallery approved
Oh, really?
in his neighborhood.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So he was active not just within commerce in his community, but also in the arts and at a civil governmental level where he was campaigning to get these public works built.
Yeah, well, he had relationships, like I said, with councilmen and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
he was really working towards that. And it's just that was one that it was somebody that I didn't really know about, didn't have a personal impact on me.
Yeah.
But
Like
when he died, I kind of got more information on that and did
there
more
was such
research.
an outpouring of love from
Huge.
his community and his fans that it was one of those deaths where insert rapper name here, dies of drug overdose. People mourn for
Right.
Yeah.
people mourn for 5 days,
Or even
people
like
get
a
over it. Whereas this was like a pillar of a
'Cause
community.
he was in a community.
Got gunned down in his community,
Yeah.
in front of something that he built.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's
And
like that's a
from-
huge loss for that community.
Yeah, that
let
really
alone his
shows
fan
the
group.
importance of participating in your community when you're dealing
Yeah.
with legacy. You know, like
start local.
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, you
So, I
know,
mean-
if you've got anything, and you give it back to your community, like your community will pay you back. You know,
Yeah.
but it unfortunately wasn't able to save his life. But at least the
There-
things he put his energy into are
And
gonna
there
live on.
Yeah, and there
Yeah.
are people that have they've put like he affected the community enough that there are now people that are taking up the mantle of the things that
Yeah.
he started building, right? And so it will continue and are making
Yeah.
an effort with that, right? And like trying to keep pushing forward. And I think that's kind of he has all this art and stuff like that obviously will always be around, but that's a very strong legacy.
He made
to
He
leave
made a
behind.
tangible change in his community for the
Mhm.
better, and those changes, they weren't solely dependent on him, so they will last.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, he was a driving force for so much change that it's going to be hard for even his team of people, to come in and fill those shoes. And
Yeah.
keep pushing
Hopefully that
ball
momentum
forward.
will continue.
Yeah.
But also, it just like it sets that precedent, you know, like that community involvement matters, community programming
Mhm.
and support matters, you know, like that, and it's just so refreshing to see a legacy based on that, right? You know, it's not just about clout, you know, like it's about
Yeah.
Doing good.
doing good, bringing people together, empowering people who maybe don't have power, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a message we were all ready to hear, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a sad one.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
That's a sad one. It is sad. It's sad when it's not just a guy making music, not to
Not
you
to
know,
disparage
shortchange
guys
that,
making music that
art.
die.
Well, it's that.
but it's
and
also
more.
it's that, and it's also a member of the community
Yeah.
who had the power to make a difference
Yeah.
and to influence positive change in his own community. If there's anything that can be learned from Nipsey, it's just like shit. Like give back where you live.
Yeah.
It's your life too, you
Yeah.
know, like it's not just about spending time on doing free shit for other people, but when you give back to your community, you're giving back to yourself. You know,
If you can't do a lot, you can't do a lot, but just make little efforts and do what you can, and that's
just get to know
all a
your
person can do.
neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Care about shit that's going on in your neighborhood. You don't have to like reform everything, but just pay attention to what's
be
going
aware.
on, you know, and connect with the people next to you.
call your MP.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta
Or
pee.
just like if you see fucking garbage on the ground, pick it up. Shit. Like it's not that hard.
That's true.
You know? What's
I mean-
your most impactful celebrity death?
Good question.
The one that
What fucked you up?
Maybe let's try most recent.
most recent
Yeah,
would be
that might be
yeah,
easier.
It's easier to draw
yeah.
from.
Most recent would be Stan Lee, I think.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
That was one that, as
He's
a kid,
so old.
yeah, he was. And that's the weird
But-
thing about it is that, like, growing up as a kid, I dreamt of meeting Stan Lee. I dreamt
Aw.
of working with Stan Lee. Big comic book nerd. Grew up on Stan Lee. And then as time went on, and he got older and older and older, and always, like, held up really well.
yeah,
Like, he was, like, in his, like, 50s and 60s.
yeah. It didn't seem like he aged a day between like 1990 and his death.
It was, like, the
That being
last...
said, he looked like he was
That's-
95 in 1990.
That's,
Yeah.
well, that he, like...
Might as well have been.
He almost... And,
before hydration.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
always saw he seemed like he was just perpetually in his like 70s for
Yeah.
3 decades,
He just
and then
is
this
generally old.
last 10 really like
Really just fell off.
he
a
started
cliff.
having to like he traveled and worked. He had like a handler basically that like made sure that he wasn't like falling downstairs at appearances.
Yeah.
Shit.
and basically like helped him around and stuff like that.
Fed him his lines through an earpiece.
No,
for,
that's
like,
all
the
Stan
Marvel
Lee,
movies.
man.
You sure?
True believers.
You sure?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, he had his whole like Stan Lee shtick. He had that plan. Like that's why you know his name because he's a showman.
Excelsior.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But that was a one that when he did die, it was weird because I always like, I think I prepared myself for it mentally for him being
When
so
you have
old
that
and
Yeah, like
knowing
we do with
runway.
grandparents.
exactly
Yeah.
like knowing that it was gonna happen. I just knew it was gonna happen. So when it did, I was like, oh, that sucks. But I just kind of knew that it was coming eventually, and I gave myself like I had like a decade to kind of
Yeah, you
prepare
gave yourself
for it.
permission.
Yeah.
So it was one that if it happened 20 years earlier, even 10 years earlier, I think it would have messed me up even more. But
Yeah,
I definitely did kind of prepare myself for it.
totally. Because you're like, he's getting older. Where's this gonna go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was weird too. Like I recently watched Captain Marvel. I still haven't seen Endgame yet.
I recently watched Captain Marvel as well.
I liked it. They pre-recorded a bunch of Stan Lee cameos for
They did, yeah.
like the next few movies, and it is one that I could tell watching Captain Marvel, because if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, a little Stan Lee spoiler cameo where he's in the bus or the train, and he's reading a Mallrats script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little nod because he's in
Cute.
Mallrats. It
Yeah.
was
It's
his
a good-
first cameo.
yeah.
When
love
Mallrats came out,
Mallrats.
so do I. And I love Kevin Smith. And when I saw that, and there's a reason why. Part of the reason why I love Kevin Smith is
Gets the
comic book
juices
nerd.
flowing.
Exactly, exactly.
Gets the juices.
I don't know about
going.
you guys, but I thought it was Excelsior.
Yeah.
Totally
So-
Excelsior. Agreed.
But you could see when Brie Larson does, like, she's walking on the train and there's just a guy holding up the Mallrats script in front of his face. She pulls it down, and then there's a shot of just Solo Stanley looking up with the Mallrats
Yeah.
with a hand on it, and then it cuts and it cuts between them. Never shows them two together. You could tell, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a pre-recorded thing, so they
Yeah.
could put it in.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be
All they had to do was put Brie Larson in the same looking train car.
exactly, yeah.
And they'll do
just
that
edit
with
it.
future movies.
And
We
they're
had
good.
like a nice little like nod and smile at each other.
Exactly.
It
And
was
yeah.
like it was clear. It was like
It was sweet, and for somebody that
in the middle of an action scene.
well, I've watched too many movies and like read books about screenwriting and like edit and like all that kind of stuff that I've gone to, like, I see those little
Yeah.
like you can tell those little things, you know.
I far prefer that kind of subtle cameo than a like really goofy one-liner that's
Yeah.
just thrown out off the cuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. Pause for pour.
Guys, I love you, but we need to start talking about the subject again.
Just one more thing
Okay.
All right, so I finished my notes.
about that was the end of
Yeah,
the
but you didn't
Lincoln,
tell
the
me your
Lincoln
most
diatribe.
like recent. That
Stan
was Stan
Lee.
Lee. Okay.
Stan Lee.
And
Did you miss that whole bit?
Yeah, I was just drinking wine over here.
I mean, I
eating
have
spicy rolled corn chips.
I haven't
which
had
is
I have
my
other
these yet.
ones. I
favorite.
don't think that Nipsey Hussle was the one that affected me the most. It's probably a toss-up between Mac Miller and Anthony Bourdain,
Yeah, I get
because
that.
I identify a
And
lot
Troubled
with
Fellows,
both of those
too.
guys.
Wait, you didn't get Stan Lee? Come on,
I did. Sorry.
major impact.
Major impact.
Sorry. I
Actually,
was,
the weird thing is I say that sarcastically because I'm used to being like a comic book nerd that has to be like quiet and like
Mm.
Yeah.
grew up like not telling
Now you
a
have a
lot of people that I
platform.
read comic books, and now they are the biggest fucking
Yeah.
entertainment industry in the world.
I feel the same
There-
way about
there's
Spider-Man. Like I
so
wasn't
much
into a lot
money.
of comics, but I was really into Doctor Strange and Spider-Man.
Got a
And-
Spider-Man tattoo.
I'm gonna get one. Have
Got
to. I really want to get Doctor Strange's cape as well
cool.
as a tattoo, just the cape.
Yeah, that'd be
You
good.
like Doctor Strange, eh?
Yeah,
Alright.
it was like definitely I
Have
got
you
me.
read the Steranko like Doctor Strange? Like the
Okay, you
really
guys,
trippy 60s
we were
stuff?
so
I'm
close.
I don't think I have. Anyway,
We're
So-
so close. I know it's hard.
so we've
All right.
we've talked a little bit already about Anthony Bourdain, so I'll talk a little bit about Mac Miller.
Yeah.
Mac Miller was a hip hop artist. He was a producer and a rapper. He was born in 1992, so he's 2 years younger than me, which resonates with me a lot for sure.
Like
a lot-
around the same age group.
around the same age
Yeah.
group, like very, like I definitely identify a lot with him, not just through his music, but like his mannerisms and
Yeah.
seeing him in interviews. Like I don't know if anyone listening has seen NPR's Tiny Desk concerts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He did a really great one, and I was like, oh man, I really love this guy. He's so good. And he did that Tiny Desk concert, like I think it was like 5 days before he was found dead in a hotel room.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So
Okay,
it was
right
so
before.
for people listening, how did Mac Miller die?
Mac Miller died of an overdose. I think it was related to fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
I'll fact check myself.
And how old was Mac Miller?
He was 26 years old.
And
So-
he'd been battling kind of like
Yeah.
So he always had like problems with addiction and depression. It was the topic of a lot of his albums and a lot of his songs. Like he was big, like when he first came out with his couple mixtapes, like big party rapper.
Yeah.
he was
rapping about-
26.
He was 26. and his
So
first mixtape,
almost 27 Club,
he was almost part of the 27 Club.
which I think honorary
27 Club.
I think so.
So his first couple, like he released mixtapes as early as, I want to say like 2008. So when he was like 16ish.
In a while.
So young.
He's very young, started very young, was very prolific. He was like, I identified with him a lot because he produced most of his own mixtapes, or
Yeah.
at least he was credited as producer, and he had multiple producers working with him. So he was like one of those guys. He was like a lot like Nipsey Hussle, where he was owning his own masters and making his own shit, and not just like buying beats for $50,000 or $40,000. He was like making his own stuff. It felt very like all of his music, even though even in like the early days it was like party rap. It was very much about like doing drugs and like having fun and
He's young.
banging chicks. Like he was a young kid, and that's like what you rap about when you're
A child,
18
really.
years old.
Yeah.
So it was easy to identify with him because I was growing up like around the same time as him, and like
Right. So you
listening
could
to it.
identify really quickly.
yeah. So that death hit me hard, and it hit me especially hard because the week that he died, or like maybe 2 weeks before, he released an album, and it was like
It was
an amazing album. It's called Swimming. Go check it out. It's really good. It's got like electro jazz, hip hop influences. He works with one of my favorite bass players and hip hop artists called Thundercat.
Oh yeah.
You guys know
Thundercat's the man.
Thundercat's amazing, and he's all over that record, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And he's also in the NPR Tiny Desk concert.
That is a very good Tiny.
It's one of my
Tiny
favorites.
Desk concerts. There's some that are.
I can't watch
fantastic,
that one.
but
I've
So
been crying.
tell
really,
me about
really
the
good.
moment. Tell me about the moment you found out.
So it was another one of those ones where I was in the kitchen
Yeah.
working away.
God damn.
Was I
Um,
there?
Slaves. We're
Fucking
slaves.
wage slaves, man.
Goddamn
I definitely
slaves.
heard that.
I think that you might have been
if-
there.
I definitely heard it the day that he died in that kitchen.
Yeah,
You may have worked before me, and I found out about it
I
after.
think so. I think I heard about it from Josh, who is one of our mutual coworkers,
Yeah.
when he came in, and I think that like he was the 3 o'clock and you were the 4 o'clock or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I was so distraught.
That's
I
exactly
think-
what it was. Yeah.
I think I was so distraught I just left at 4
Yeah.
when you showed up
Yeah.
because I couldn't fucking deal with it.
Right.
That was a
But
bummer.
it was a huge bummer because I'd been listening
You
to
couldn't.
his.
You left early because of the death.
Yeah,
And that was a death that that affected everyone in that kitchen. Like
Yeah.
Chase the dishwasher.
yeah, he was like inconsolable.
Yeah, because that was a huge part of his.
Same,
Yeah.
because I think he's a year younger than Mac Miller was.
So what hit you hardest
Yeah.
about the
No,
loss
he's a
of
few
Mac
years
Miller?
younger, but I think
What hit me hardest?
Yeah. What was it that really fucked you up about it? You know what I mean?
Well, it
Because
was
people die, right?
people
So
die.
What was it about this death?
I would say, so I'd been like watching Mac Miller since his early career, like since his
Right.
first mixtapes,
At
and he
17 or whatever.
like 16, 17,
Yeah.
18, whatever it was. And he had been just starting to garner mainstream appeal.
Yeah.
And with this album, Swimming, this was probably his best chance for like breakout mainstream
Yeah,
success.
because when he dated Ariana Grande, right? Ariana
Did he?
Grande, didn't
Yeah.
he? He did, and
A lot of
she's-
people blamed her for it, so I think that's important to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. It's
At least mention.
yeah.
no, for sure. But I think
Do you want to look that up?
Conspiracy theory.
I'm
Do you
pretty
want to look that up?
sure.
Because I remember something about that, but
I think
I
it
think
was
that was
they
all just
dated for a while.
tabloid
and then,
speculation bullshit. But
um,
like the thing about Mac Miller was the reason that it really affected me was because like I started making beats like much later than Mac Miller did. Like when I was 23, I think I started making music, like electronic hip hop music. And so seeing someone that basically came from like a nothing background to be able to become this versatile rapper, hip hop producer, music mogul in his own right, collaborate with like some of my favorite artists ever, and then to see him gain this really good amount of success in these 2 weeks of his album release, and then just die of an overdose because of his addictive personality and his
and like we said earlier, win the Grammy posthumously.
he didn't win it.
Oh, nominated. Sorry,
He
you're
was
right, yeah.
nominated. I think Cardi B won that year.
Which is fair. Cardi B is
Well, it's
Fuck yeah.
politics too. Cardi B's awesome, and they needed to give. I don't think they've awarded best hip hop album to. She was the first female artist.
Well, that's the problem with like
Get
we were
it,
saying
girl.
with Grammys and Academy Awards. It's just it's always posthumous. Like, oh, we fucked up on this 5 years ago, so
Yeah.
now we're gonna give him.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna give.
To be
Pacino
fair,
a-
I think he would have been nominated regardless of if he was dead.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Important.
That album was amazing.
Yeah.
I still listen to it. I get teary now when I listen to it, but I still listen to it. But I think that it was, for me, what affected me so much was obviously I identify with him so much for being this like little white boy that succeeds in this career that's like dominated by African Americans. Not that that's not totally like it's their world. We are guests in their house, basically.
But you identify with somebody that you can identify with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like I don't identify
you
with
see yourself
Eminem.
in a world that you.
I don't
can-
identify with
Yeah.
Eminem. I identify with Mac Miller or like people like Mac Miller.
Yeah,
who are
there's
like,
a like
from
You're
the
just
gutter,
like
do it themselves kind of people.
Late 20-something
Yeah.
yeah, like I
guys
said.
trying to make it work.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like
But
I
it's
was
also-
I was a punk kid because
Yeah.
the choices that time were punk or hip hop. I could relate to a bunch of white kids being frustrated with
shit.
suburbia.
I
I
wish I
couldn't
hadn't-
relate to growing up in a very disenfranchised
And I had
neighborhood in a
I had
big
elements
city.
of that too growing up. But I think it was also like it wasn't just the relation, like how I identified with him. It was also just like loss of potential.
Yeah.
That really
'Cause
killed
so
me.
young.
He's so young, and he was just about to be huge.
And he was
Yeah.
you.
And he was like, yeah, in a lot of ways, I saw me in
Yeah.
that.
That's why Whitney Houston got to me. You know, is because I didn't. I kind of woke up one day and was like,
I love Whitney.
Where did you
Houston.
discover
"Holy
Whitney Houston?
shit!" I don't know.
Was just always there, kind of thing.
I know my mom respected Whitney Houston at some point. She would sing like, "I believe the children are the future." You know,
And the future is full of
the
children.
greatest
know
love
that
of
song.
all. You know.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
It's happening to me. Oh God, please don't just
It's all
edit
in
out
there.
and
It's all
replace it with
staying.
Whitney's voice. But
That's not copyright.
stop it.
See, this is
Stop it.
this is parody and satire. I can't just put Whitney Houston's music in here.
No.
Yeah. So we gotta
I
sing.
absolutely adore.
Will always.
You know, I'm gonna force you to listen to Whitney Houston because you need to learn some respect.
That's
Voice.
respectful.
That is no. I got.
We're being all kinds of respectful.
Yeah, I got
right now.
nothing. Whitney Houston is
Whitney
fantastic.
Houston's voice.
Yeah, I agree.
Whitney Houston's voice to me is like separate from her.
She's larger than life.
She just her voice is the standard
Yeah.
that so many vocalists base themselves on.
What kind of? I mean, what other singers can you like popular singers can you put in
Whitney
that tier?
Houston had perfect
Celine
range.
we
She
love-
had
Dion, maybe?
fucker.
We love to rag on him, but Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
one of those voices. The thing about
But
Michael
Yeah,
even
he
Jackson,
had a
then, but even then, Whitney Houston had this power, this underlying strength of voice.
and the thing about Michael Jackson's voice is he was a castrato,
yeah.
so we can't even call that an average or identifiable male voice.
No.
Well, he was
And also-
chemically
but-
castrated
Yeah,
to
but
But
have
Whitney
that.
castrato.
Houston's range
That's what you
was
call that when you have a-
enormous. She could go from the very bottom to the tippy top in like 3 seconds and
Yeah.
fucking hold it the whole time.
Like the only other person I can think is like Mariah Carey has that.
yeah, but
that
also
kind of range.
Mariah Carey's fucking sucks.
You know
Am
what?
I allowed to have bias?
No, I got.
I'm gonna have
Absolutely.
bias.
I am not gonna be
I-
upset.
We're not owned by
I
anybody.
am in love with Whitney Houston,
Yeah.
and I feel like I fell in love with her too late. I didn't realize how much I cared about her
That's a
until
very-
after she died.
That's a very specific kind of grief, I think.
Yeah,
right?
because
is
it's like-
finding somebody.
Which
Too
is
late.
like I said earlier,
Yeah.
where like I wake up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm a humongous Whitney Houston fan. Now we have to listen to her whole catalog. Of course, Adam was very supportive because he's like the best
A
person I
wonderful
know.
human.
Yeah.
We all love you,
Yeah,
Adam.
shout out to Adam, who's probably going to listen to this because
Uh,
he listens to every episode.
Adam
This
Rayburn
a
is Jasmine's wife, just for a little
wonderful
nugget, little
husband.
nugget of
and
context.
our
there.
podcast mama. And
Or
don't mean that
husband, or wife,
derogatorily
whatever.
because there's nothing wrong with being a podcast
Podcast
mom.
mama.
He takes care of us. He brought me Takis and wine. so we could have this night.
Takis.
Yeah, or dinamita.
Takis is the little spicy
rolled
chips.
corn chips. It's
I
specific.
didn't know they were called Takis.
They have to be rolled.
To
If
be
they're
a
not
Taki.
rolled, they're not what I'm talking
If
about.
I can't use it as a straw,
Yeah.
Is that
get it out of my fucking
that-
face.
I have cried about Whitney Houston probably like 10 times.
That's a good amount of times.
Yeah, I feel my
Really?
feelings. I really do. I care about Whitney Houston a lot. It's weird. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what my fixation is.
So was this a later in life?
Oh, totally. I think part of it was because I went no contact with my mom.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
It's a bit
I
of like a-
and my mom is a vocalist and she's a musician.
Okay.
So I
It's all
feel
coming
like I
together.
feel that attachment with another woman.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so I just fucking leaned into Whitney Houston so hard,
But
and
you're-
I just love her so much.
Your parents.
I understand that.
We're
Yeah.
both musicians, right? Or are
Yes.
both musicians. So they
Yes.
don't. But they weren't really the R&B musicians.
They were folk musicians,
Right,
but
yeah.
they sing a lot of it, like a lot of things
There's a range. Yeah. Of
fit
course.
under folk.
Yeah.
For sure. But when I'm talking about like influences,
I
they're
guess I
like,
was just-
listen to this, listen to that. I listen to a lot of Ella Fitzgerald. I listen to a lot of
Ella Fitzgerald's
man.
great.
Whitney
Ella.
Houston. I listen to a lot of like strong black female vocalists.
You know that's not a dirty
with
word.
those, I know, but I want to say it properly.
Billie
know,
Holiday.
Billie Holiday.
I
but,
fucks with some Billie Holiday.
You know, people
anybody that
who
has a bad
had
thing to say about Billie
technical
Holiday.
skill and also access their soul.
Yeah.
And learning about that really changed what I look for in music, you know, and because of that, I stumbled upon the fact that I'm a huge Whitney Houston fan. No one ever like guided me to Whitney Houston. I just slowly gravitated towards her.
So how did you find her? Was it like the Bodyguard soundtrack? Or?
I remember my mom singing "The Greatest Love of All" to us. Because my mom was a female vocalist, I resisted female vocalists for a long time, which is unfortunate.
I think I skipped over an important fact with Mac Miller that I wanted to make. An
Cool.
important point, not a fact.
Your
Important-
editing is going to be a tough time in this episode.
Yes. Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yes. So another important reason that loss was so tragic, the Mac Miller death in particular,
Yeah.
was because he, I mean, speaking from personal experience and also shared experience from friends, he helped a lot of friends get over like addictive personalities, make headway in like drug and alcohol
Yes.
abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually succumb to drug and
That
alcohol
himself.
abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a huge defeat in a lot of people's eyes that saw Mac Miller as one of the singles off of his new album Swimming is called Self Care.
Yeah. I know.
And
that
it's a
song,
great
yeah.
song, and it's all about overcoming your demons because you have to, not for anyone else. Because you want to.
We definitely have some required listening after this episode.
Yeah.
We got
Self-Care,
to listen to
Mac
Nipsey, we
Miller.
got to listen to Mac Miller, we got to listen
Whitney
to Whitney
Houston.
Houston. Hello.
So to have a figure that
And read a comic book.
please read a
God
comic book.
damn it.
Doctor Strange.
Don't watch the movies. I mean, watch the movies. Do whatever you want.
gonna
but
watch the
also,
movies.
Also read a comic book.
But so to have a figure that you identify with so strongly that has pulled you out of
Yeah.
an addictive situation
And
and
then
harmful
to-
situation
Fuck,
and into
do
some
it.
form of healing and self-care, to have them die of
Yeah.
what you were fighting, what they were fighting. It's a
Well,
huge
that's what
defeat.
we we're kind of talking about earlier. You know, it's just like it's not just about the individual and their struggle; it's how it reflects in your own individual life. As
Yeah.
someone with all these resources
Yeah.
can't overcome
And
the
you see-
challenges of mental health struggles.
Yeah, and you see this album come out, and it's all about like loving yourself and
Yeah.
self-care. And then
And then
5
they
days later or
fucking
whatever,
die.
they're dead of an
I
overdose,
think-
a fentanyl
How do you
overdose.
deal with that as somebody who is looking at that as
Yeah.
a motivation?
I mean, I couldn't for a couple days.
That's the
and I
thing,
wouldn't.
right? Yeah, I think if you're somebody that is struggling with those kinds of things, it's always easier to like Mac Miller seemed like a very empathetic,
Yeah.
Nice person.
sensitive
Yeah.
Yeah.
person, right? And so it's much easier to take the energy that you should be maybe focusing on yourself and like, dealing with your own stuff to project that outward to
Project it.
help other
Yeah.
people
Fan base.
Yeah.
to make that and like
Yeah.
and yeah, like to your fan base, to like whoever you can, to kind of make their lives better and recognize flaws in yourself and try and
Like
help them
how
and other
we're
people,
doing
because
with-
you don't have that self
Yeah.
worth
Yeah.
maybe necessarily if you're somebody that's struggling with drug addiction or mental
It is
illness or
so
whatever.
Yeah.
much
Yeah, yeah.
easier to help other people than it is to help yourself.
Because I think a lot of times if you are somebody that is struggling with mental illness, you don't feel like you deserve that help.
Yeah, super
and so
valid.
if you are like if you're having these own thoughts and you're not expressing them to other people, you get stuck in that loop, right? Where you're like, well, I'm a piece of shit or whatever. I don't deserve
Other
that.
people deserve
or I
this, but
can't.
fuck me, right?
Or you see somebody else, or you're very empathetic and you see somebody else that is struggling and you put that focus on them because you can see them struggling and you
Yeah.
care about them. And it's easier to put yourself aside for a while and keep putting yourself aside until it gets to a point where you end up overdosing
Yeah.
or something
So
like
what do
that.
we learn from this?
Oh man, don't let fame get to you, I guess.
I mean, self-care is important.
Fucking take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
We're doing this for everyone.
My only worry with the whole Mac Miller death is like he helped all these people and he's like, "Oh great, I did it. I'm finally successful
But he
and I
didn't help
finally helped
himself.
enough people."
And
And
then
then he's like,
yeah.
"I'm famous now. Let's celebrate." And then he dies.
Yeah. Well, it's
From
the
taking that one moment to himself to
it's,
celebrate.
It's the Kurt Cobain arc again, right? It's been a problem for a long time, and
So
we're
long.
finally starting to recognize
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think we are from a generation as well where like our parents weren't as aware
know
of it. It was
shit.
not a thing, right?
Yeah. The
was-
70s didn't care about whether or not we stayed alive, and
Well, it's just-
the 80s and 90s were just beginning to start with the
It was
mental
not
health
like
shit.
what was internally going on within somebody was not a factor, and mental health was not something that was talked about
Yeah.
openly. If you were going to see a therapist or something like that or a counselor or whatever, it was because you had a very specific issue that you had to
Yeah.
sort out, and then you would finish it and you'd be done.
Undeniable, like you're lighting fires or shit.
Yeah, and now we're
Stabbing people.
and now we're learning.
huffing pottery glaze.
Oh man,
That's
don't
really
Don't-
specific, Rob.
don't knock
No one look at me.
don't knock huffing pottery glaze. It's the greatest high. I've never
It's-
done that.
Don't do that. Please, anyone, don't do that. Anyway.
It is a fleeting but amazing high.
Is it really good?
Jordan
Yeah.
was saying
Yeah, you're
something.
kind of
Let's
you're
let
kind of
him
making
finish
me want to
his
try
point.
it now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but so what was my point? My point was that as a society in mental health specifically, we are growing and evolving and learning more and more, and how it has an effect on other people's lives. And I think, like with this podcast, where we're talking about death and mortality in our lives. I mean, I think a lot of our personal lives have bled into that, and
Yeah.
that's
More
because
than I thought
Yeah.
it was going to.
I
Yeah.
have one thing to say about celebrity deaths, is that if you're feeling an effect of a celebrity death, it's not about the celebrity.
it's about you.
It's about you.
But
It's
also-
all about you.
But also, like, don't feel ashamed to feel it.
no.
That's the thing. It's
It's also important.
Yeah, your
No,
feelings.
don't feel ashamed about it, and feeling it as an individual. I don't say that to shame you. I'm just saying if you're really grieving a celebrity,
It's
the
probably
best
something in you.
heal inwards.
Yeah.
Look at yourself and see like why.
Yeah,
Why does this celebrity death impact me the way it does?
I think just honesty as a culture is something we need to be aware of with mental health, with
Yeah.
death. What we're talking about, I think we just need to have more honest conversations.
And feel your feelings,
Yeah,
like
totally. Yeah.
I'm glad.
whether or not you share them.
Do we want to wrap up this rambly
Yeah.
rambly
This is gonna be a
rambly
tough
episode?
job for you, Rob.
Yeah.
You can have it.
This is 2 hours.
I
I'll
feel like
be
it's
lucky
still
to
probably better than our first recording.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, having listened to that first
Is it?
recording. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. All right, so this has been Death. Thank you for listening, celebrity deaths. I'm sure this is a topic that we're going to get back into along the lines. We'll cover some more celebrity
Yeah,
deaths. This is
absolutely.
something that affects us as a culture. But until then, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at deathpod and death@gmail.com. I've been Jordan Valges. Bulgis with a B, not a V. I see a V there. That's the wine. The wine.
I've been Rose Rob.
Rose Rob.
I'm Jasmine Rayburn.
And then just Jasmine Rayburn.
So dejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that.
Thanks for listening to us, guys.
We love you.
We appreciate you.
Honestly, we've started releasing episodes, and the feedback and like the listenership and the support has been amazing.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Shout out. I'm gonna shout out some personal people.
Yeah, hell yeah, do it.
Taylor for sharing our podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks, Taylor.
Brett and Todd also for sharing and commenting on some of our posts. We
Nice.
love you. And if you want to get involved and comment on some stuff, and please do.
Yeah. We
Thanks.
love all the
anyone
outreach.
who's listened or shared, we're so grateful. We
Mm-hmm.
think this is an important conversation, it's an important topic,
Yeah.
and we're so grateful for anyone who wants to participate.
We love you. And
remember- We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Now we need another talkie.
There it is.
Do a full one. Try a full one.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Bite into it.
Ready? You like this shit?
Yeah.
We're just gonna whisper.